Well, hey everybody, Mr. Malte back for our next part of our awesome research question. And joining me is Mrs. Mandrick,
Hello.
who's far away apparently. Okay, so we've come up with some awesome questions on the Badlands. And what I find now is, now that we have a whole bunch of questions, we have to organize them. So whether you're researching Badlands or whether you're researching animals or insects, or it doesn't matter what the topic is, and that's what we're trying to get across. If it's animals, maybe the first part's all about how they look, and the next part's all about how they act, and then you can organize your questions accordingly.
Yeah.
So whatever your topic, whether it's a place, whether it's an animal, whether it's a person, we can organize them into different topics. Maybe if it's a person that's like growing up, or how they got into, where they are now, how they got to where they are now, and all those sort of things. So we have our Badlands, and I think we need to organize these before we start our research at all, because this is just random questions. And what am I just going to do a shotgun approach and just find question one, then question two, even though they're not related, or maybe they are? That's not a sensible way to do it. So first we need to categorize our questions, and we can edit our questions, make sure they're good, I think. What do you think?
A few editing might help us out a bit. We've got lots of topics that kind of even touch on each other, but I bet if we start organizing, we can start eliminating some, or just even mixing them together, and that might help. Like, where are the Badlands? That tells me, well, maybe we're talking about location, and we're writing where are they,
okay.
And there might be another question in there that tells us of a where.
Absolutely. So we'll look for those different things. So location, you said, and I think that's a great one. And remember, when it's category, we just Control B, or you click on the letter B up here. And I like to show this little trick. A lot of people don't know this trick. If you click a word and you go 1, 2, that selects the whole word, or 1, 2, 3, the whole sentence. But I'm going to make this bold. And then we have where are the Badlands. That one's going to stay. I'm going to do the little, press enter. What makes the Badlands look so different
from the other places we've seen? That's kind of talking about what things look like, and we're talking about rocks here. So maybe we want to use a big science word like geology, talking about what they look like. And I can see we have a lot of rocks, like why are rocks shaped like that, and landforms. Those all have to do with rock shapes and geology.
Okay, so I'm going to move, and you can just drag whole sentences like that. Press enter. There's a few ways to move things around. I've got more rock questions, so I can even Control X, and I can go. Oh, landforms is still there. I think I'm going to keep that one because landforms is okay.
Landforms.
All right. I think we can. Why are they called Badlands? So some of these might be history.
Ooh.
And it will be history for now. Why are they called Badlands? Did someone discover Badlands? Animals, well, that doesn't fit in there.
Well, and with the history, because I can see you've got people in the history. Like, we can talk about the people, and maybe even we've got a question that says, are the Badlands old? That's history.
Perfect. So I'm just going to move these up. And students, it'll take them longer. Control X is cut. Control V is paste, or just dragging up 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 select. So it might take students longer to organize. History, and you said, and culture. I don't know what culture is, but culture is bold. Okay, and then I've got some things about animals. Well, animals isn't history, but that's like wildlife.
Ooh, we could add plants to that. We've been asking some plant questions and adaptations.
Should we do wildlife and plants together?
Yeah. I think they would go hand in hand. Or paw and leaf if you want.
And you said old should go in history and culture. And this might seem like, why am I doing it?
Oh, there's that weather or climate. Whoa, sorry, I skipped past yours. Is weather or climate? I would consider that a location question. It doesn't have to do with rocks, but it is very location specific.
Okay, so I'm going to put that up in location. It's kind of a fun activity too, right? And maybe you're like, well, this question's not that fun. Oh, I like what fun. So activities, maybe there's hiking there. Maybe there's other cool things like that.
If you're planning a trip, I want to know what to do.
Okay, I got plants, and we have a plants one. Boy, we're going pretty fast with this. adaptations to the plant. Okay, definitely wildlife and plants still. Ooh,
The
fossils.
fossils, would you consider that a history question, or would you consider that its own special thing? Because it is part of the history, but it's also part of wildlife.
So,
But
well,
it's
it's part of geology too, but
all three. Could it be its own category if we really wanted?
to me, it's important enough that I'm going to put fossils as its own category.
That could also be something very specific to you, where if you're like, this is a category that I think is specific and big enough on its own, and maybe it's by itself, where it can be its own category.
And
I'm looking at the how could I survive in the Badlands, and I'm wondering where we could put that, because that kind of
do
goes with
we,
activities, but we're already answering a lot of the questions with our
yeah,
what's the weather going to be like, and what
yeah.
are everything
And
like.
I kind of don't like that question. I think I'm going to get rid of that question. Is that
You
okay?
don't want to know.
Well, I just think like survival, like we're not going to be doing survival. We'll be visiting there. We'll be looking at all these other things. I mean, maybe how did ancient people survive there, like a long time ago?
But then I would put that with history of how
Exactly.
did the indigenous people live off of the Badlands, and that could be another question that you're adding as you're going along.
This is looking really good so far. How can we protect is kind of unique as well, because a lot of times we have parks and we have those. So maybe like conservation.
Ooh, that's a good big word that we're going to learn and talk about often and a lot.
Perfect. Okay. And we did that really fast, but you can see how this would work. Whatever you're researching, I can put into categories like what an animal looks like, where an animal lives, like that's habitat. So organizing before is really good. And even looking at our questions, like are our questions good? Or could they improve, and all those sort of things.
Definitely. And again, we can join some of them together, or you might realize that some of the question is just part of the larger question. Like,
Yeah.
with, especially I can see that in the geology ones, like why are they shaped like that, and why do they have so many different colors?
Yeah. Sometimes if it's a sub question, you can do this little thing. Boop, move it over, because it's like part of geology, but it's just like a subcategory. Okay. So we have all these questions, and actually that's bothering me that it's over. Move it back.
Just kidding.
We have all these questions, and now we have to do some research. And this might have been a long process for you, or just watching us do this together. I think it's valuable. But so for finding the answers to questions now, we are ready. And when I'm thinking back, we're going to be making a magazine. I can almost already picture how my magazine is going to be laid out with these different headers. Like, ooh, I'm going to have a map, and I'm going to have some little important words, like a glossary or a definition, little caption. All these other cool things that are text features going to help us build a great resource, not just an ugly slideshow where we're regurgitating information, right? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so one fantastic place if you're looking for things about Canada is the Canadian Encyclopedia. It's so great. Just a search for the Badlands gives you Badlands, Hoodoo Rock, Drumheller, Dinosaur Provincial Park, the Red Deer River, dinosaur hunting. Like, look at all these.
And we can also, even if we want it to read to us, remember we do have that text read and write feature that we can have it help us read to us as we're following along.
Boom. Okay. So I've got Badlands, and if I want to, I can click on my purple puzzle piece and highlight. I don't know if you'll hear this because I was presenting my whole screen, but
Badlands. They're steep, barren slopes provide striking evidence of the force of erosion by wind and water, a source of continual
urge. And this is going to be a longer process, but already it's like a force created by the force of erosion by wind and water. It's like urge. Is that an answer to one of my questions? How do rocks form? The rock formations in the Badlands. So I could even go in here, and as I find my answers, maybe I want to put them in a different color, but I could also just go right here, and I could go. The rock formations in the Badlands were formed by erosion through wind and water, period. And I don't know if I did a great job of that, but you get the idea where I have my answer. Maybe I even want to underline my headers and bold my questions so that I don't get confused. Things like that as I'm going through. I've just organized my information so it doesn't get confusing. And spaces help too, right? So this is where I'm looking for answers to my questions. Any other insights about that, Mrs. Mendrick?
I think that you've got a good start. Like you're gonna go and as you're finding the information, plug it into your Badland question form. I mean, I think it comes down to personal preference on how you're organizing your Badlands question page, but that's again preference. The biggest thing that I think we would really want to make sure is that we don't get confused with our questions and our answers and just becomes jumbled and difficult to read. But those do look like really good points, especially if I'm thinking back to our text features. Like some of these questions look like a caption that I could put on a picture, like how did the rocks form, like, and point to a picture of a rock, and there's your answer almost.
And that's what we're going to be doing next.
Oh, spoiler.
So in our next video, we'll look at how to actually make our little cool magazine. And yeah, so good luck answering questions to your research topic. Hopefully it's this one, because we got it all laid out for you. But yeah, I like it.
I like it too.
Okay. See you in the next one.